You're listening to the Free Thinkers Club Podcast Network.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of All Factors Considered. And today I got a guest. Today I got the great Valerie Soto. She is a 3-3 fighter in mixed martial arts professionally right now, but that record is not indicative of who she is and her potential as a fighter. I think we got the next young UFC gun over here on our hands, man. So she's a former XKO amateur champion, man. She got a beautiful walk-off knockout on her record, man. And we just gonna get to it, man. Let's get straight to it. So, Valerie, man, thank you for joining the show. And I don't want to waste too much of your time. I want to get straight into it, right? So, word on the street is that you live, eat, sleep, breathe mixed martial arts, right? I know you in a power couple right now over there with Cody Freeman, 5-3 MMA fighter who's fighting for that 145-pound strap this weekend against Colin Wright. So first and foremost, man, how are you feeling right now? What's the nerves looking like? You know what I'm saying? Are you straight grind mode? What are we thinking?
Well, what was the question?
You grinding? Are you in full MMA mode at all times? I know you just finished your fight. It was not that long. It was just a couple weeks ago. You went straight into the camp for, you know what I mean, Cody over there fighting for that 145 strap. It's strap season. What's the intensity feeling like? You know, how are the vibes right now?
Oh, well, you know, obviously he's fighting tonight, so I'm ready to see him win. I'm ready to get back in there. I'm trying to get a fight in April. Like, I'm ready to go. So it's all intense. We try to stay intense at all times. We want to stay ready.
Right on.
All the time.
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready, man. And that's one of the things. That's one of the things about you, just kind of as a fighter and your fight style and talking and doing that stuff that really shows, right? You have a quote, if you don't mind me reciting really quickly, that I really enjoyed. And simply, it just went like this. You said, "Listen, man, everybody in this sport's trying to make it. You know what I'm saying? If I get a call, I get a call." And that was in regards to a potential UFC shot a couple fights ago, right? So, with that being said, I want to know to you, man, does this end at the sport? You know, people can want to be a champion in mixed martial arts and it could still end at the sport. Is this a lifestyle thing for you? You said you a banger. You said you trying to fight. You know what I mean? Talk that out for me.
Well, I mean, like you have to, it's a certain lifestyle you have to live. You can't be in there halfway. You got to be there all like full on. Like, you know, I used to work at Panera Bread and, you know, part-time, but then also have to go to the gym. So it's like, it was hard to, like, you know, sometimes wanting to do it and whatnot, but now I work at the gym full time and I'm in it. I live and breathe it. I wake up, I go to the gym, I go get a run in, I go back to my desk job, you know, and then right after that, back to training, then I go home, back to training. So it's like, you have to really be full into it. You have to really want it and, you know, to make it. So
no, understood. So you said you was eating a little bit of breakfast for morning. What's the diet looking like right now? You know, you just fought at 125, but I think 115 is the home, right? So you know what I mean? What's that diet looking like?
Well, I mean, since the fight, I actually haven't been pigging out like I normally do. I'll have like freaking 60 sodas, you know, but I actually haven't been drinking any soda. I ate a little much last night just because Cody weighed in. So he was like, "Oh, I want to go eat." So I was like, you know what? Okay, well, we'll go eat some food. So we had what did we have yesterday? We had Olive Garden yesterday and hibachi. And we didn't even really eat much of our hibachi. We were just like so full. So I didn't really eat the hibachi. And then this morning we had there's eggs, toast, you know, nothing too crazy. I haven't been drinking soda, which is the main thing. So
I'm with you. I saw you drinking some of that Zevia, man. You got to get that Zevia sponsorship right there with the Diaz's.
Yes. So I actually, like, I started. When did we start drinking that? It was like 2 camps ago, 3.
It was like about a year ago.
About a year ago, we started drinking that, and it's like I rather like he had got a Dr. Pepper last night, and I was like, watch, like, because this past fight camp, I told him, I was like, you're not gonna want it. Like, for some reason, I haven't been craving soda, maybe a Big Red, but we haven't drank one yet. So, but I haven't really been drinking it, and when he had it, I was like, I told you, because he was like, you're talking about. I was like, soda just ain't it. Like, I'd rather have a Zevia right now. And he was like, yeah, grape one sounds real good.
I'm gonna put you on the ginger root beer. That's the one right there. If you haven't had it, that's the one.
Yes, I've had that one. We haven't had it in a while, but that one's good. But my favorite is definitely the cherry cola.
Yeah, old school, old school. No, right on, man. So listen, you've spoken at length before about how hard it's been, to kind of book fights these days, since all the COVID has happened, people don't want to fight. You don't got the training partners in at Fitness Fight Factory out there in Texas. You can't necessarily get people in your weight class. You got to go get beat up by some of the, the bigger folks, right? And,
Yeah.
with that being said, your last fight, took it against Flore Hani, went up a weight class. Flore Hani missed weight by about 4.4 pounds, right? But you said you was still game. You still just wanted to stay active and you wanted to fight, right? So I think you don't lose any stock whatsoever by coming up short right there. If anything, right there, just throw a little asterisk on there. You know what I mean? We in the young part of the career right now. Get these ones out the way and then let's keep pushing forward, right? But with that being said, I kind of want to ask you, you've been like cutting weight since like high school wrestling days, right?
Yes. So when I was in high school, when I first started, I actually wrestled at 128 and I was weighing like 121.
Okay.
So I didn't have to. But then when I got older, like my senior year, I started to get a little heavier, but I really didn't have to cut a bunch of weight, but I still try to watch what I ate. But I mean, after high school, you have the ice cream man, across the street. So I'd eat a lot. But then right after that, got to college, and that's whenever I had to start cutting something. And then like as I'm getting older, it's definitely a little harder. I have to be more disciplined. I'm still growing. I'm a girl, so we hold a lot of water. But
I'm with you. So what I want to ask you though is that, like, listen, I'm not making no excuses for nobody. Everybody needs to be held accountable for their actions. That's what we do as adults, right? But what are one of the things, because you were a fighter, because you know what it's like to cut weight and you've been doing this for so long, even though you're only 23, right? You've been doing this for a minute. What are one of the things that the layman MMA fan wouldn't quite understand about the difficulty, something that could really make weight cutting difficult? Because Flore Hani, that wasn't her first time missing weight, not in the LFA at least. I think that was her second time in the LFA. So she didn't give a reason. She said she didn't have to give a reason, and I actually agree. I don't think you have to, disclose your reason, but you need to make weight. That's what it comes down to. So what insight do you have on that?
I think that we all need to make weight, man. I did hear she said it was her time of the month. But that's something that as a woman you kind of have to already have in your game plan. You have to plan for that. Like I've missed weight before as well. The last time I fought for LFA, and it was due to the same reason, but it was kind of different because it was I was on the pill, and that stuff really messed with. Yeah, I had just started taking it, and it really messed with it, and but you kind of have to be responsible and put that into count, and when you're calculating, because when you're cutting weight, you have to calculate everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could tell how much my clothes weigh just because I'm so disciplined on like the scale. But that's the thing though, like we went up a weight class to fight her. So it's like, you really should have been disciplined with your side, because I honestly feel like she could have cut more. We had a deal where she only could weigh 137.5 the next day that we fought. Like she had to weigh in again, but they said that she weighed 134. And I was like, there's no way that she only weighed 134.
I feel you.
If you're gonna sit here and miss weight by that much and only weigh 134, like there's no way, because I weighed that, so, but whatever.
No, I'm with you. So it's really interesting, right? And that's something that I haven't necessarily heard of, at least not too much. Maybe in some of the LFAs or the regional circuits, but how often are there these like rehydration clauses in these contracts to fight? Is that common?
I honestly don't know. I can't speak on it because I don't know. This is a first for me, so.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. So listen, man, you fought a lot over at XKO. You know what I mean? You've done the LFA thing right now. Obviously, LFA being connected to UFC Fight Pass, just a little bit bigger of a stage, right? What's the grand aspirations? Where are you trying to get to? Everyone wants to get to the big show. We already talked about that. Everyone wants to go to the UFC. But like I said earlier, right? You said you was living this martial arts life. If you become a champion in LFA, let's just say, right? You already got the AMI champ over there at XKO. Become a LFA champ, move up, go Invicta, go UFC, whatever you want to go. In your brain, kind of growing up doing this thing, what was that grand aspiration for you personally?
Man, the goal is to make it to the UFC. Like I'm all in. Like if I'm a go, I'm a go. And I'm all about the money too. Like it's whoever has a better offer. But the goal is always UFC. But I'm saying, like, if Bellator is going to offer me way more and it's just a better opportunity, then obviously I would branch off to Bellator. But, you know, I'm trying to take care of Cody. I'm being sugar mama.
Sugar mama, I feel that. Listen, man, what happens when Johnny Bedford says, hey, man, are you ready to come step over to bare knuckle fighting championships, come out and scrap in Wyoming?
I couldn't. You know, and I see all these girls taking, you know, these chances to do bare knuckle, and you actually get, I've heard that you get injured less when you're doing bare knuckle versus MMA because you hold back a lot of like the power in your punches and stuff because you don't want to break your hand or anything. But I feel like I'm too young. Like I have a full career ahead of me of MMA. So maybe if I was older and, you know, I feel like bare knuckle, like I'm not trying to bash it, but I feel like it's a lot for the OGs, you know, for the people that have fought and that aren't fighting anymore and they're, you know, retired, but they want to make that money because that's some easy money for them. But it's like all the OGs are doing bare knuckle, and I don't feel like I'm an OG right now. I'm still young.
You got some skin in the game. No, I'm with you. And it's kind of like, I don't know if you watch basketball, but, you know, they got the big three, and that's for the people who's like retired basketball players. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, go to your geriatric league, go do your thing. You know what I'm saying? Let the young guns go out and get it. And some of those, you know what I'm saying? But listen, man, so I kind of wanted to ask you, so like against Catherine Roy at XKO 44, right? Kevin Holland was calling that fight. He was kind of talking about how you was peeking out at the crowd, joking, laughing, doing all that good stuff in between rounds. Referee even had to be like, hey, you ready? Let's rock. You know what I'm saying? And you said in the post interview, I guess you could say, you're like, listen, man, if I have fun, I have fun. And that's all that there is to it. But I wanted to ask you, when you fought Flore Hani, you was a little more Mike Tyson-esque. You was a little more focused and stoic, you know.
It was a little different. I guess I was just more pissed off that she was over, which I mean, like I said, I've been through that before, but I was pissed off because there was an interview that she had did the last time she missed weight, and she was talking, you know, she was talking down on her last opponent because she didn't want to take the fight. And she was, you know, just saying like, we're all going to be heavy the next day. I don't know why you didn't want to fight me. Like she was probably scared. So I was just thinking, you know, I don't want you talking crap. Like I'm ready to go in there and bang, you know, and she kind of underestimated me. And I guess it was just, I don't know. I didn't feel in my groove. Like I wasn't smiling as much, you know, it was a little different. It was more serious. And then when I saw her walk into the cage, I was like, who the heck is this girl? I was like, she looks way bigger than, you know, whenever we weighed in. But, you know, once we started going, you know, she hit me and I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. But I think it also had to do with my boyfriend wasn't in my corner. My main boxing coach wasn't in my corner. Like it was just Johnny, and I love Johnny, but you know, we're still growing our relationship. So we're not as close as I am to my boxing coach and Cody. So it was a little weird not having them in my corner for sure.
I'm with you. And it's funny because I think Laura Senko was calling that fight, and she had even said, she was like, Flore Hani is bigger. She's the biggest that I've ever seen her in any of her fights.
She was definitely huge, like for real. Like that's why I was like, there's no way you only weighed 134. Like her leg was like probably two of mine put together. Like, you know, she was really big.
I'm with you. And not to linger on the past, right? Because the past is the past, and we moving forward. We're not thinking about that, right? I want to give you a hypothetical Groundhog Day situation, right? Have you seen the movie Groundhog Day?
No, I haven't.
Well, so are you familiar with the premise? It's just the same thing reoccurring every single day, right? So here's my example for you. If you had to choose out of this hypothetical Groundhog Day situation, would you rather have every fight for the rest of your career play out like the walk-off knockout in the second rounds of the Miki Rogers fight? Or would you rather have an absolute war like the third round of your Andrea Amaro fight, and why?
Oh, man, that's a hard question.
Because both of them are great, right? You know, it's pick your poison.
I'm gonna have to say the wars. I like wars, man. Like, it sucks that I go to decision, but I really, really enjoy, like, because that's what I'm training for. I'm training to go to battle. That's really what you're doing. Like, don't get me wrong, the finishes are great. But I like getting hit, and I like punching people. I like the back and forth. I like the battle, because that's really what you're telling yourself in the gym. Like, you know what, this is going to be a war. I don't really go into the, into fights saying, yeah, you know what, I'm going to finish this person. Like, I'm going to go out there and knock them out. That's just never been me. I'm going in there like, okay, well, this girl's coming to rip my head off. It's going to be a battle. Like, let's bang. Like, I want to be the female Cowboy Cerrone. Like, he may not be like undefeated or nothing, but man, he's remembered because he puts on some shows. Like, he's a banger. So definitely, I think for the rest of my life, I wouldn't mind banging every round.
Right on. Yeah, Cowboy, man, that's the people's champ. And sometimes that's more important. It's the same reason why Nate Diaz can go out and sell out a pay-per-view when pay-per-view, when all that stuff in the UFC, though. It's beautiful because he's like, listen, man, y'all over here fighting for all these belts. The belts damn near don't mean anything in certain divisions anymore. What's up, man? Let's rock. Let's scrap. You know who the real people's champ is. So, man, I respect that. And that shows, like, you a very, like I said, you're just like a game fighter. And it's a breath of fresh air because I'm out here in Portland. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but I'm from Modesto, California, right? And I know you fighting out of there in Texas. And it's kind of similar vibes, you know what I mean? That kind of more country-ish dudes out. We boxed for fun at the park. That's just what we did as friends, you know? So it's interesting, man. But how speaking back to what I said earlier, man, about how you're a little more stoic, Mike Tyson vibes against Flore Hani. How has your mental approach to the game changed since your fight against Roy over there at XKO 44?
Oh, well, it hasn't changed a whole bunch, actually. That's what I'm saying. It was so weird how I went out different than I normally do, but I still have that same goofy mentality. Like, I go in there and I have fun. Like, I'm there to put on a show. I'll wave at the crowd, whatever. Like, I'm always cheesing because I really enjoy being there.
Yeah.
Even in the gym, I enjoy it.
Yeah, hell yeah. So how does it feel? I want to know, do you even hear it, right? It's second, third round. You over here, you're in the middle of a war, and all you hear is Johnny Bedford, combinations, Valerie Soto, throw combinations. I love that in the back. He's just screaming your full name like he's Joey Diaz or something like that. You know what I'm saying? How does that feel? Do you even hear it, though, when you're out there scrapping?
Hear it? Like, I hear, and it's crazy because, like I said, I didn't have my main people in my corner. But my boxing coach, Rafael Casillas, shout out to him. He was in the crowd and I heard him more than I heard Johnny.
Wow.
Because the voice I'm so used to. But Johnny's like my hype man, like he just, he won't necessarily tell you, oh, throw this, but he'll tell you throw, like go in there and go for war. And it's like, he's a hype man. He'll talk crap to my opponents. Like, like he's a really, like, he's like, let's go, bro. Like, he sounds like a freaking pirate. He's like, come on, let's go.
That's that intimidation factor you got in your corner right there.
Yeah, like, there was one opponent one of my teammates that was fighting, and he was on top of his opponent, and Johnny was like, he can't even spell jiu-jitsu, bro. Let's go. It's just so fun, to have him in the corner, But like I said, like, I heard my boxing coach, like, telling me what to throw, but he was like when the crowd was definitely far, like it wasn't close to the cage, but that's literally the main person I heard. Like, he was telling me to hit her in the pooch, like go to the body, and and I heard that this going into the second round, so I started mixing in my level changes to go to the body. But it's cool to have that, them yelling at me like that.
No, right on, man. So I know out there in Kansas, I believe the Kansas Athletic Commission, they're been doing some, open scoring type stuff, man. How has that been for you? You go into it and where you stand in the fight. Does that affect your performance?
That was the first time I had ever dealt with that. And me and my coach actually really liked that they had that. But then he said for him as a coach, it was very frustrating to know that we were down the first two. Like, the judges had us down the first two. After the first round, I thought I won that round. Like, I'll still go back and I'm like, okay, I won that round. Like, the first round for sure, like, that was my round, but they gave it to her. So I'm sure, in the coach's standpoint, it's kind of frustrating because it's like, okay, what can you do? You have to go out and finish him if you're down two. But for me, I was just like, okay, after I saw that I lost the first, I went out the second and I started off really well. And then I started like lightening up, which is something that I shouldn't have done, because I feel like every round I had with her, I was dictating the pace. I was throwing more combinations, but the judges like to look at, okay, you know what? Flore Hani landed the more solid punches, but I'm like, she didn't rock me. She didn't push me back. You know, it didn't affect me, but they look at that stuff. And so the third round, I was like, dang, like I gotta go. Like I gotta, you know, so I went for like a little desperation shot to see if I could get it. And her legs, like I was under, I was like, like, oh my God, she's heavy. But you know, I wouldn't change it. I enjoy the open scoring. I like to know, like that was really cool to have that.
For sure.
Different.
For sure. And it's really interesting too, right? How different commissions, they're going to judge things differently, right? Because that's one of the things that I noticed. I'm like, okay, you went up a weight class, your opponent comes in heavy, you know, nonetheless, right? But you're walking her down the entire fight. You're literally walking her down. So it's like, yeah, I always talk about that. In the UFC, they do the same thing. Some judges, they just don't like to factor in, you know, ring control, octagon control, whatever the case may be. And with that being said, I just got a last couple questions for you, kind of conclude this thing out. You fought in a myriad of different type of like shapes in terms of your ring. You fought in squares, you fought in like all these types of different things. How does that change at all? Does that affect your performance in terms of like the way you think about it? Because the fight game is a game of angles, more or less, right? So how does a ring compare to maybe possibly an octagon? I don't know, do you train in an octagon or do you train in like a rectangle?
We do both. We'll do like open mat, like a square rectangle, and then we'll do some in the cage, you know, depending on who's there to train with me. But you know what? Honestly, it doesn't affect me much. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, I'll fight in whatever. Maybe not a ring, though, because I can fall through it. But, you know. But I would say that XKO's cage is more for me because it's very small. Mm-hmm. And I like to pressure people. Like, of course, I could fight going backwards. I could fight going forwards. Like, I have that movement. But whenever I want to, like, pressure somebody, it's like they can't really go nowhere, you know, because it's not angled. Like they have to, like, they get stuck in a corner. Like it was like their cage. I don't know. I got used to it and I really like it. But then I could also do, you know, the LFA cage as well because it's more space, more movement. You know, I get to work different stuff. But you know, I don't mind. I'll fight in whatever. Except the ring, like.
There you go. No, I'm with you. And I think that means that we got the perfect place for you right there in Vegas at the UFC Apex, right? Get you in there, get you start scrapping, right? But to kind of conclude this thing out, Valerie, man, thank you so much for your time. I want to just kind of, just for like my own curiosity, really, right? You was over there, you was fighting Flore Hani. She had Carla Esparza in her corner. I think you was just training with like Randa Markos or something like that, right? Who is somebody that like people would be really surprised that you may be good friends with that's like a high level mixed martial artist or something like that?
Oh, I have a few. So I you know, obviously I don't have like legit female training partners. I have to travel and they have to travel to me. But I mean, I've worked Montana De La Rosa. She's in the UFC now at 25. It's been a minute since we've worked together, but she actually I trained with her even before I started fighting, like leading up to my first amateur fight. I trained with Jihn Yu Frey. She's in the UFC at 115. I've trained with Andrea Lee. You know, I've trained with a bunch of people. I've trained with Helen Peralta. She's not in the UFC, but man, she's a dog. Like she was bare knuckle champ, so she'll scrap and she'll be in there soon. But you know, Randa Markos, I've worked with her. Who else have I worked with? Sarah Alpar. She's in the UFC. Julia Avila, she's a monster. She fights at 35, but I've trained with her before.
Those are all some legit names, man. You know, yeah. Julia Avila especially, man. She's a straight up killer right there. But listen, man. So it's interesting though, right? Because that's actually how I found out about you. Was by Helen Peralta.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I found out, right? Because she was over there. She just like, I think it might have been your birthday or something. Posted up a little photo or whatever the case may be. And I'm just like, man, to see that you're connected through these people and whatnot, it's just nobody would know, right? Because social media, we a little more private, right? You ain't got to put everything out there on the internet. Some people do, but that's not necessarily the greatest look. But nonetheless, man, Kevin Holland had nothing but high praises for you. What's that relationship like before we get out of here?
Oh man, you know, I've known Kevin since I was an amateur because Cody actually used to train at a gym that Kevin was from called Phalanx. And I actually met him through Cody, and you know, he's always been really nice. Like we're always joking with each other. Like he's a really good, you know, cool guy. We're supposed to go get lunch. I was supposed to train with Randa Markos actually this past Wednesday, but Cody was cutting weight, and I had to be there for him, and I had to work, so it didn't work out. But Kevin actually owes me a shout out on social media to get me some more followers and you know, some food.
And some food. Right on, right on. So listen, last question I got for you. So
you want, it's good.
No, right on, right on. So Cody Freeman, right? He's fighting, you know what I mean? He's getting that 145 strap. This is just the question for you, man. Is he getting it by knockout, submission, or decision? What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be for this one?
Whoa.
I'm calling knockout, 3rd or 4th round.
Right on, man. I'm rooting for you. Let's go. Strap season. You know what I'm saying? Yes, sir. So listen, man. Ultimately, we're gonna have to get Cody back on after he wins that 145 strap. You know what I'm saying? There we go. Right on, bro. But listen, Valerie, thank you so much for your time, man. I can't wait to see your next fight. You've had the grinded out fights. You've had the walk-off knockout. You've had to show off some of that submission defense. You haven't quite got the chance to really show off that Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Not quite yet, man, but one of these days. And
I've been working on it, so don't be surprised if you see it my next fight. It's just my thing is, if I'm beating somebody on the feet, I'm not going to take you down. Yeah. It's just wasted energy for me. Like a lot of people are like, oh, you should show your wrestling, you know, show your base, you know, like we'll hear it from his dad, you know, from my dad. But I'm like, it's different when you're in there. Like you're not going to want to sit here and take a chance of taking somebody down and wasting energy if you're just beating them on the feet. Like, you know, but one of these days I'll show it off and it's going to be fun.
Exactly, man. So listen, right, like I said earlier, the record is not indicative of the potential of where you can go. A lot of people think that they was calling you the next UFC prodigy, you know what I'm saying? Like 3-4 fights ago, fights ago, something like that, right? So listen, 1 knockout, 2 decision wins, and your only losses is by a split decision and majority decision. So it's not like, you know what I'm saying, we really got issues here going on. We just got to fix it up with the judges a little bit, and we rocking, you know?
I just keep getting screwed by the judges, I think. But, you know, like you said, I'm young, and if you look at my record, I don't really fight easy people. So my losses are to legit people, and you know, like Vanessa Demopoulos, she was on the Contender Series, like she was the LFA champ. Like, what does that tell you? That she couldn't finish me, and it was by a decision. And honestly, I dropped her twice in that fight, so it's kind of like, who really won that? You know,
the people know.
Yeah, like people know.
Yeah, people, that's what I'm saying. That's why, you know, it's kind of the story right now. One of my favorite fighters in the UFC is Angela Hill, right? And if you look at her record, yeah, the record isn't beautiful, but if you actually are a fan of the fight game and you actually watch the fights, you understand she should probably be on like a 5-fight winning streak right now, but she keeps getting robbed by the judges.
Yes, like I actually just did a podcast with somebody else last night, and they asked me who was my favorite UFC fighter, and I actually said Angela Hill. Like back in the day, you know, when you don't follow it or know people, like I follow it more now than I did back then. And so before, I used to think that she was annoying, you know, when she was on the show, and I didn't really care for her like that. But now that I'm respecting the sport even more and I follow it like truly, it's like she's probably one of my favorite fighters. Like she is so exciting to watch. But yeah, like her decision losses, man, they're debatable. They really are. And she's just a savage for taking these short notice fights. Like she does not care.
I agree. And she's 36 years old too, man. So to be doing it at such a high level, you know what I mean? Once people start writing you off and whatnot, man, I still think that that's the future strawweight champion in the UFC, man. I'm holding on to that one. But Valerie, man, thank you so much for your time. I hope to be talking to you again soon. And like I said, man, looking forward to the fight. So you have a good one, all right?
Dude, thank you.
All right. You take care now.